Hey guys, what's happening? Thanks for tuning in, coming back and watching. I appreciate it. Hope your day's going well. I'm playing around in Luminar 4, big surprise. And I'm playing around with a photo from Iceland, another big surprise. We had some wonderful conditions in Iceland. And one of the things that we did is go to a couple of different waterfalls. And this photo is one from, I think it's called Skogafoss, something Foss. All I know is Foss means waterfall, or at least I think it does. Anyway, incredibly awesome place. And we were standing there shooting, and it was wintry and cold, and the spray was hitting my lens, all that stuff, and honestly, it was pretty awesome. I don't really get a chance to shoot many wintry scenes. I live in Texas, not a whole lot of winter going on here. In fact, it's like 75 degrees today. I mean, I was out in shorts. So I was pretty excited about that, and one of the things I wanted to do is take this photo that I have and kind of amp up the wintry feel, kind of the winter is coming, kind of like, oh man, this is wintry and cold looking. So here's my photo. As I said, this was at Skogafoss or whatever, and that is, her name's Emily Ristevsky. She is known as Hello Emily, that's Emily IE at the end, on Instagram. Very popular Instagrammer, great style that she has. Anyway, she was one of the masters on the tour, and she, having a red coat on, volunteered to go stand up there so we could take photos. Red coat, white background, that's what I'm talking about. So that's the photo, and I turned it into that, which is a high contrast, really amped up the wintry feel. So I don't know, I just wanted to make a winter wonderland. Again, not something I get to do that often. I really like the result, and I'm going to walk through how I got there. So let's hit it. Okay, so actually, here's my base photo. Once again, that's the base photo. This is after a couple of moments here in the light tool. So I slightly adjusted the temperature. I think you got to be really careful with snow because it'll start turning blue on you real quick. However, I did pull the temperature down. I'm going to fix the blue in a minute. I'll show you how. Took the exposure down slightly, bumped up smart contrast, took down highlights. But then I did the opposite of taking down highlights. I bumped up the whites, and that's something with snow that I think about a lot, which is snow's white. And so I want to make sure that the whites look good. And while they don't currently look good, in fact, they look kind of, not muddy, what's the word? Kind of silvery gray. We're going to fix that as you saw in the final. But I took the blacks down just one, so literally almost nothing. But a very, no pun intended, a light amount of editing here on the base layer. That's the light tool, there to there. And then the next thing I did is hop over to adjustable gradient. Let me turn that on, and you can see what I did there. So I set the orientation here at the bottom of the photo, basically on the horizon line. And I bumped up the contrast a little bit in the top. Let me get over to top. I was on bottom. Bumped up the contrast a little bit on the top. And then on bottom, I bumped it up a little bit more, brought up the highlights, and actually brought up the warmth, which is going to slightly counteract that bluish tint that I was getting in the snow on the ground. So there it is before adjustable gradient, and there it is after. It's looking a little bit better, but honestly, still too gray, too muddy. I don't know, it's not doing it for me. So the next thing I did was actually go over here, and I got an erased image layer, and I took out these spots. Let me go turn that image layer on. Erased image layer, turn that on, click, there we go. And what I did is I took out some of the spots, but as you saw in the end result, I've got snow falling, which is a snow overlay. I'll show you in a minute. And I didn't really feel like I had to remove all the spots because truthfully, if you've got snow falling, you're going to kind of have spots anyway. So I wasn't overly concerned about that. I also might add that we were a good, 100 something yards away maybe. What's my focal length here? I was at, where am I? 26 millimeters. So, not zoomed in that much, but she was probably 100 yards away. I don't know, something like that. But regardless, the spray was hitting me and my lens some. So there's definitely that to kind of work with. But not being done, of course, I wanted to jump into another adjustment layer. And that's where I go over here and start having a lot of fun. The first thing I did is go into the light tool. As you can see here, I was focused just on the snow, right? So I made adjustments to exposure, contrast, highlights, and also whites. And then what I did is, because this is an adjustment layer and not the base layer, you can mask with the light tool. So I got over here and I masked all those adjustments into those areas. So basically, I'm popping the whites and the brighter parts of what I want to be the bright parts of the image, which is snow and waterfall. And so what I did is just make those adjustments with that in mind. and then masked them in with the brush mask. Okay, then I moved over to AI structure, and here I just took negative structure, negative 60 and a boost of 30. I basically softened the entire photo. So if I turn that off, you can see a bit more texture and that sort of thing in the rocks. And while I kind of like that, at the same time, what I'm creating here is kind of a winter wonderland, as I said. And to me, that just kind of says soft. And for me, the best way to soften an image is to use the AI structure and go negative, what I call negative structure. And I even boosted it, as I said. I just wanted to amp up that feeling of kind of soft, wintry kind of thing. I don't know. For some reason, that in my mind is like no hard edges, no real grit or grunge or, texture. It's just really soft, and that was how I did it. Okay, but there's still a little too much blue, so I went into color, and I'll turn that on. And what I did is I went over here to the blue, and you can see I took down the saturation, and I took up the luminance. So, and then I masked it in. Let me show you where I did that. Once again, I'm basically hitting some of the snow here, and I missed some. So let me hit paint and do that. There we go. Just cover that ground good. But basically what I did here is just take the blue out of the snow. I didn't need to worry about it in the waterfall, and I did not want to lose the blue in the sky. I like the blue up there. So I just painted it into those areas that you see there, which is basically helping me to increase the visibility of the white, which is the snow, and reduce that blue tint that's occurring in it. So I just hit done, and I can close color. I'm done with that filter for now. Okay, next up was I went to Vignette, and let me turn that on, and you'll see immediately a bit of brightness pop in the center of the frame. And what I did here is I just took the amount -1. I don't want a vignette, but what I do want is inner light. And the only way to get inner light without a vignette is to have the vignette amount set to -1 or +1. Basically, if it's 0, you're getting nothing. Let me show you that. So there's that, 0, and you'll see my inner light goes away. It still shows here, but it's not showing in the photo. But if I take that to a -1, you can see I'm getting the impact of that inner light in the photo. So that's a little tip for you if you haven't done that. If you want inner light but don't want a vignette, just move it to 1 or 2, or -1 or 2. I've got it, let me see, 1, there you go. And you're not going to see the vignette at 1, but you are going to see the impact of inner light. So that's what I did there. Again, just brightening up the whites and kind of pop in the center of the frame. And in fact, what you could do also is say choose subject and maybe come down here and select her, which I actually like a little bit better. So that's how I use Vignette to brighten the whites there without actually adding a vignette to the photo. And now we're going to pop over here to the Creative tab. I'm going to get Mystical, and that's just a global adjustment, about 38. It just gives me some of that soft romantic glow. And while I was in that romantic mood, I went over to Orton as well and did a similar thing. Just a light touch of Orton with a little bit not quite as light touch of Mystical, but I think it gives me a nice little bit of kind of that romantic, that, I don't know, it feels moody and wintry to me. Also, these two filters do a good job of sort of creating additional contrast. I've got a lot of white there, and it's amping up the white while adding a bit of darkness to the darker shadowed areas. And I think that looks good for this kind of look that I'm going for. And at this point, I was basically done with my edit, except for one thing, the piece de resistance, as they say, and that is the snow overlay. I wanted to basically create that wintry wonderland look, and the best way to do that is to add snow. It didn't actually snow on us there. You can see this here. But I had a snow overlay. I just went and found some of these online. Just Google free snow overlay. And then I found some, and I don't know where. I'm sorry. I do this at random times, and then I never keep track of the websites. People ask me, just Google it. You'll find things. I found a bunch, and sometimes you might have to join a photographer's mailing list or something like that. But it's a small price to pay to get some really cool stuff like this. So I did that, and basically it shows up as a really dark sheet. In fact, let me just tell you, I'm just going to delete this layer, get rid of that. There we go, and I'm going to go add it so I can show you the full workflow here. New image layer. I've got this snow overlay. I'm going to say open, and it adds like that. So it doesn't look good, of course, because you can't see the layer behind you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the blend mode to screen, a lot better, and then I'm going to take this intensity down simply because, I should say opacity is the actual word. I'm calling it intensity. I think I was at about 45, but it looks like a nice soft snow falling. At 100, I felt like it was a little too much. The snow's a little too heavy-handed, right? So I'm going to bring that down to like 45. I feel like it blended in pretty well there. It looks like snow falling in movement, which fits the scene. And that's how I did this snow overlay. Very simple, just a new image layer, screen blend mode, and then adjust the opacity if you want to. You may not need to adjust the opacity for your shot, but that's what I did here. And that's how I got from my base photo, which was, interesting scene, but let's be honest, kind of a boring photo. I mean, if it wasn't for Emily standing there in a red jacket, it'd be really boring. I think now it's much more wintry and cold and dramatic and moody, and I just like dramatic and moody photos. If you've seen my videos, you kind of know that. But I think we came a long way, and I'm rather happy with the result. So that's really it for my workflow here, my friends. I'm going to jump back into Luminar, do some more stuff. Not to this photo, I'm done. This is actually like my third edit of this photo. I think this is the final one. In fact, I sent Emily my first edit, and I probably should send her this one. I think it's much better. So I won't show you the first one, but it didn't look a whole lot better than that with the snow overlay. So much better now. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you haven't yet, give me a thumbs up. Do that. Give me a like. Oh, that's the same as a thumbs up, isn't it? What am I talking about? I don't know. If you like the video, Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Don't hesitate to share. And if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button. Smash that. And thanks for watching, my friends. I really appreciate it. I hope your day is going super awesome. I'll be back soon with more fun, creative stuff in Luminar. See you soon, my friends. Have a great day. Take care. Thanks for watching, and adios.